Hi again, I'm Sean with Sean's Tech Blog. I'm here with guest speaker Christopher Kelly. So we're gonna go right into it. Looks like you've been into sales over 29 years. Thank you for joining Sean's Tech Blog, and thank you for doing this interview. So looks like you help job seekers in ed tech and that kind of space. Some of the questions I see about, for job seekers are, maybe you can talk about this. How to connect with decision makers. Are you able to bypass gatekeepers such as HR, and essentially get to the decision makers? So can you?
Yeah, so when I've been in sales, one of the things I learned that I teach job seekers is many times you have to go through gatekeepers in order to get into an organization. And a job search is no different. And when you look at the gatekeepers for the job search, that comes in two forms. That is the ATS system, which is when you apply online, that is a gatekeeper that you're trying to go through, as well as people in the recruiting business. Not the recruiting business, the people who are the talent acquisition people who are doing the scanning of an ATS submission. And a lot of what I coach people around is how to locate the actual hiring manager, and not only locate them, but how to build a relationship with that person. Because ultimately, that's the person who's going to hire you. And you want to try to avoid the ATS system and the gatekeeper, because in many cases, they're looking for very transactional material. And when you build a relationship with the actual person who's doing the hiring or the decision maker, that's going to give you the best chance of getting the job.
Okay, so you have a program here. So can you tell us about your company, ashcareer.com, and what kind of services you provide to the job seeker?
Yeah, so what I do is I work with job seekers right now to help them land a job using essentially techniques that have been born out of sales and marketing. So it really focuses on how do you build trust that you are the person they want to hire, especially in the distrustful world that we live in today. So when you look at the large number of resumes that companies are getting because of AI and AI tools, how do you build a relationship with someone that's based on trust that makes you stand out from everyone else? So it's everything from knowing, like, what is the ideal job you're trying to fit? What are the challenges that you solve? Also, using social media in a way that positions you as being the thought leader in this space. But the real important piece is networking. How do you network and find the decision maker, i.e., the hiring manager, and build trust, which really gets into the other two pieces before this?
Okay, sure. And what are those other two pieces?
Yeah, so the other two pieces is one is having a really, really sound understanding of where your industry is in providing thought leadership and guidance around where the not only where the industry is now, but where it's going in the future. So being able to advise these companies about real challenges that the industry is facing and how you see solving these challenges. The second piece is really getting into what I call the social media optimization part of it, building your LinkedIn profile in a way that shows that you are a thought leader in this space and you're not a job candidate. So I actually strongly encourage people not to use the open to work banner, nor to even mention you're looking for a job. So when you position yourself as being the thought leader and the person who knows this space inside and out, that's the person they're going to want to hire. And then the networking all flows off of that.
Okay. And can you give me an example of how to demonstrate being a thought leader? Let's go with tech, IT support. Let's talk about how would you demo that?
Yeah, so it's not necessarily demoing, it's more the way you present yourself and the way that you position yourself. So when I work with a candidate, someone who may be in IT support, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to look at all the things you've done in the past and all the accomplishments that you make. Challenge is that's where most people stop. They create a resume or they create a LinkedIn profile that's based on all those accomplishments and skills. The problem is everyone else is doing the same thing. So when I work with people, we start looking at those accomplishments and skills. We look at where the industry is today, and we create something called superstars. And superstars are insights into where the industry is going based on the job you're trying to fill and the size of the stage of company you're trying to go work for. So let's say I'm in IT support, like working for a growth stage startup for IT support is going to look very different than working for Walmart or Amazon or any large established company. So we're providing these insights about how is AI impacting these positions. We're providing insights into new tooling that's going to help in terms of improving ticketing, things of that nature. So we come up with these superstars that we then lead with in our networking, but we also optimize for our LinkedIn profile.
Okay. And when we're talking about optimizing, what are we optimizing? What are we showing on our LinkedIn to optimize it?
Yeah, so it's more in the wording. It's more in the wording, in the posting, and the way that you do it. So when I look at about sections, as I mentioned, most people, what they do is they give a laundry list of everything they've done in the past. They talk about, I did this, I did that, I have this skill, I know this technology. And that's fine. But what it doesn't do, it doesn't tell the employer about the problems that you solve. So when I optimize the LinkedIn profile, it's really around three areas. The first one is scrubbing anything that makes it look like you're unemployed, because employers have biases against people who are unemployed, and you need to get rid of those. You need to remove yourself from that bias. The second one is looking or strategically optimizing your LinkedIn profile to focus on the very challenges that you are able to solve. So whether it be in sales around building a pipeline of business, or whether it be in IT support in terms of your ability to move tickets and resolve things more quickly. How do you do these things, and what makes you unique in terms of the way that you do these things? And then thirdly, when you post about how you solve these challenges and really position yourself as being the expert in this space.
Okay. So uh, this is all part of your Make Me Stand Out program.
Yeah, so it's part of the Make Me the Chosen Candidate program. Yes.
Okay. And then what would you say to um, people asking about what's thought leadership? What is that?
Yeah. So what thought leadership is, it's really letting the market know or letting the industry know, here's where the industry is today, and here's where it's going, and here's why you need to be doing things in a certain way. And that makes you a next level candidate when you do that. So if you're just focusing on the past and you're focusing on the skills, it's very transactional. But when you focus on the thought leadership and you talk about what's going on in your industry, what are the challenges, how do you see yourself solving these problems? That's where the real thought leadership comes in.
Okay. And what do you say to the people that might have problems saying that, right? Like they're in a let me just go back to IT support, keep it simple. Um, you're not an IT manager, you're not in the lead, you don't get to make the decisions on what tools they buy. You may have thoughts, right? I call that challenging the status quo. And then how do you show your value sometimes it's hard to quantify metrics.
Yep.
So, so I, like others, may just put, duties what we, may or may not have done, right? It's hard to recall everything you've done on your LinkedIn resume, right? So what do you say to those people that, how do they provide value? Are they showing metrics, or are they trying to recall metrics, or,
Yeah, it's a great question. So when I put people through the Make Me the Chosen Candidate program, I provide them a lot of tools to help uncover what were the things they did in their job and how to think about those things going forward. So there's an entire process that we have in place using AI tools, using journalizing, using all of those things to really uncover what you've done in the past, and then look at where is where is where is everything going today. So it's a lot of reflection. It's a lot of looking at where, it's a lot of looking at these different things, and there's a lot of things, or a lot of, I don't want to say guardrails, but there's a lot of pedagogy along the way to help with doing that. And a lot of what you're going to post about is going to be position specific. So if you're going for a higher level job, you're going to talk more about industry trends. If you're more at the entry level or to mid level, you're going to talk more operationally about your experiences doing a certain task. But you mentioned something that's really, really important, which is challenging the status quo. I encourage people to challenge the status quo. Don't do it in a way where it's like off the rails, where it's totally in outer space in terms of where the industry is, but do it in a way where you encourage people to think and reflect. There's a better way to do this. And when you do that, you get people thinking, and that gets you perceived as being a thought leader or someone who really understands the industry.
okay. And then when we talk about problems that we're trying to solve, or we're telling them, so I'm going to give you three options here, right? So there's an IT support position that's open, right? You're doing help desk password reset, right?
Yep.
Directory. There's an SOC analyst role. So you get to choose the three, right? SOC analyst. You're looking at logs. You're tier one level, looking at logs, and then up, pushing it up to tier two, right? So some of the skills you need is some kind of open source tools. You've used Wazoo, or you've used Sentinel, or CrowdStrike, or Splunk, right?
Sure. Yep.
And then the other one, junior network admin. You've done your Get Your Network Plus, and you've learned how to work with networks. You build a network diagram, and you know how to use subnetting to segment the networks, right? And those are the positions, right? So you go into interview. Which one are you going to pick? And then once you pick that, then we'll go into what problem are we going to talk about what we're solving.
So let's look at the SOX analysis role, because I think that's a very interesting position. So as a SOX analysis, you're looking for, incoming threats that are coming into an organization. And as you mentioned, you're going to be looking at tier one, tier two, tier three. So as someone who's in that role, like what I'm going to get them to do is to think about what are the tasks that you're doing, but what are some better ways to do it? And what are some technologies that are out there right now that can help with that? So I'm going to use the obvious one, which is artificial intelligence. So as a SOX analyst, you're often dealing with a lot of false positives. And you may talk about, a lot of companies want to look at AI as a tool to do anything to try to reduce the human part of it. So what I would do as part of creating a superstar is someone who is a SOX analyst, who is on the ground, who's doing these things, to talk about like how AI can be a helpful tool, but also here is where AI is not a helpful tool. So talking about how a thing like AI can help in being a better SOX analyst and, reducing the number of breaches and the number of false positives and all of that, but then also talking about the human side of it and how you would embrace AI while still remaining very uniquely human. So like developing all of that is a big piece of what we do in the program.
Okay. And I was just gonna back up a little bit here. So we have the interviewer. He's interviewing you for a stock analyst role, right? And then they're gonna ask you about your background, etc. Where would you put in? Hey, I have an idea, because they might not ask you, right? Where do you fit in? I have some ideas to, I don't know, provide value, right? Because that's what we hear, right? We're told as job seekers, show, demonstrate. How do you provide value? How do you show that in an interview without them?
Great question. So I'm going to answer this in two ways. The first way, which very few people talk about, is you want to be showing this before you even get to the interview. A lot of research has been done on B2B sales that show when a company is looking to buy something, they know with about 80% certainty what they want to do, and they only start engaging with a sales rep at that time. I've asked people who are hiring managers the same question, and they know before the interview even happens by looking at social media profiles, interactions they've had with these people, who they pretty much want to hire. They know it with a pretty high level of certainty. No studies have been done to prove this, but there's a lot of consensus among people in the hiring space. So a lot of the posts and a lot of the stuff that you're doing that I'm coaching people to do is sharing this stuff in advance. So they see you as the person they want to hire, and it gets you the interview. And that's where working around the ATS system is so important, because they're literally looking at your resume for 6 seconds. They're looking for certain things and they're saying yay or nay, and you want to avoid that process altogether. However, when you get to the interview, I have always been a firm believer that the interview is won and lost with the questions that you ask at the end of the interview. So they're going to come in with their standard script of questions, and you have to be prepared to answer those questions. You don't know what they're going to ask, but you do, like you can prepare for them. But when they turn it over to you and they say, Sean, what questions do you have for me? This is your point to shine. So when you come in and you share these insights and you share these thoughts and you get them thinking about these things, 9 times out of 10, that's where you're going to win the interview. And that's where you can share this information.
Okay, nice. And then I see that you talk about applying dated techniques. So what are some of the examples of dated techniques from the, I don't know, 90s and on? What are some dated things you think are that people are still doing when it comes to networking, applying to jobs?
Yeah, so it's a great question, Sean. So me, myself, I am Gen X. And if I go back to when I first graduated from college, if I wanted to apply for a job, I would get the Sunday Boston Globe. I would see a help wanted section that would be 60 pages of more. I would go through there. I would look for the jobs that I wanted to apply for. I would create a resume. I would create a cover letter. And it was a very manual process. I mean, on a given week.
Can I interrupt you? You said you looked up the newspaper, right?
Yes.
Yes. I remember seeing newspapers. This must have been early 2001, 2002. You know what I mean? But that doesn't really exist now, right? That's kind of. Sorry, I just thought that was a. You know what? I'm going to interrupt you there, right there, because guess what? I am now entering that year where they're like, we don't do discrimination. So I'm hitting that milestone, right, this year. I'm going to be part of that, right? So my question is, still on the dated questions, what do you do? Because this is, we have different job seekers, right? We have people in their early 20s. I think it's a little easier for them to get the jobs, depending, right? But with the people that are in the older age gap, right? Because there's biases, period, right? And employment bias.
Of course, yes.
All of that. But the age thing, It's a tough time, I'm assuming, for people that milestone up, right? 40 and up, and then 50 and up. And what would you say? I mean, they got the vast experience, right? But now employers, I don't know if they, well, whatever opinions employers have, but how can they stand out? What, you know,
Yep.
using the old data technology, not technology, techniques for job.
Right. So there's a lot of research that's been done on ageism. I mean, so there are the basic things that you can do, like removing your graduation dates and only including 10 years of experience. Like those are pretty much like the standard things that people will tell you. I will tell you some, and I believe in all those things, but I'm going to go one step further. Do not apply on an ATS system. Make a relationship with the hiring manager directly. When you build that relationship with the hiring manager and you show them that you know your stuff better than anyone else, that is the number one way to beat ageism, is when they can put a face and the knowledge with you as being the person who can solve that problem, rather than going through a gated ATS system where they're going to look at your resume for 6 seconds and make a decision whether or not you're going to move forward in that interview process. So by making that connection with a live person is the number one way to overcome any biases out there, because they now have a human that they've connected with, and you stand out more than just having things on a resume.
Okay. And then I know we're talking about, so going back to that, what are we talking about when we're making a connection? So say we reach out LinkedIn, DM, right? And then
Yep.
what we talk about? Oh, do you have a moment to talk? We're not talking about jobs, right? We'll be like, I know you're a, I don't know. Let's say you're a cyber ops manager, right?
Sure. Yep.
SOC manager, right? Um, what are we asking? We're asking. So let's just say we're going back to the SOC analyst role. They're not hiring, but hey, I'm what am I saying as to build a genuine or it doesn't have to be genuine, right? Because let's be honest, most of us are networking kids. I know I'm maybe more direct than others. I'm if I'm making a connection, there's a reason for it, right? But
Right.
how do you do it to make a correction? You're not asking for a job, but you're trying to make a connection. And do you have any tips on how to get started? Is that what we're saying to them?
Yeah, absolutely. So when I look at the program that we have with Ash, as I mentioned, we create these things called superstars. They're future-looking insights into where the industry is going based on your experiences. And the reason why we create superstars is that we're going to post about them, but we're also going to use them in emails and outreach that we use to hiring managers. So one of the common mistakes people make is, I would love to connect with you. Let's chat. Like that does not move the needle or give the hiring manager any reason to meet with you. Now let's go the next level up. I'm interested in this job and I've done boom, 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 boom. Everyone else is saying the same thing. It's going to get you a better response rate, but you're still dealing with a very, very low response rate, because they're literally getting inundated from people who are saying all the same things. When you go in and you're a SOX analyst and you start with, I would love to have a conversation with you about how AI is impacting the ability to analyze threats as a SOX analyst, and what this means in terms of identifying these threats and getting them through the different tiers. And I would love to share my thoughts about this. That makes you a high level person they want to connect with and they want to talk with. And that's a conversation, because that's a problem they're facing 9 times out of 10. The other thing I will tell you is, as someone who's been in sales, I get ghosted all the time. I expect to get ghosted. So when I do outreach, it may take 2, 3, 4, 5 times to hear from somebody. With the work with eBricks, I reached out to them 6 times after I got rejected for an interview before I finally made a connection with them. But I didn't give up. But every time I led with a new insight of what was going on in the industry. And that's what you need to focus on, is sharing your POV or your point of view and how that's going to apply to their company.
Okay. So we're taking that advice. We're removing the 10-year history, right? We're not showing our graduation dates on whatever school we went to. And then, all right, we got that. Now we're in a position where we've had this career gap, right? For some,
Yep.
there's some like me, I'm doing what I can do, right? I'm doing these fellowships, but non-paid, of course. And but some, they're not involved with that, right? It just shows a career gap. They haven't worked since 23. They haven't worked since 22, or haven't had a paid role in their position or whatever it is. Or they might have had taken a job. So what do they do in those instances? What would be the advice for that?
Yeah. So when I work with candidates, someone told this to me. I didn't realize I was doing this until someone said, this is what you're doing. Then I kind of had my aha moment, which is I tell job seekers, you need to position yourself as still working in the field that you're in. You're not getting paid right now, and you're looking to get paid for the work that you do. So when I coach people around the thought leadership and the posting and the outreach and the networking that you're doing, you're working, you're an active person in this field. Like, you're learning about the latest threats, you're learning about the newest tools, you're staying up to date on all the things that are going on in your field. You've joined the appropriate networking groups and you've volunteered for these groups. You've stayed active. That is the best way to address this. Now, if you go through an ATS system or you go through what I call transactional hiring, they're going to look at that career gap and they're going to say, nope, and you're going to go to the next pile. So staying active and networking and getting involved in these groups and still, so repositioning yourself as from being a job seeker to being someone who's still in the field right now, they're just not being paid, is a critical mind shift to make.
Okay. And then, all right. So your last role, say, is IT support. Kind of like that.
What did you say, 1994?
Yeah, no. Last role, IT support. Yeah. So, well, I'm just using me as an example, right? So,
Sure, yep.
Yeah, IT support, but you're trying to break into another industry, so to speak. So, are you still using the terminology of what you are, or now you changing your job title, even if you're not in that industry?
Yeah, so let me ask this, Sean, just so I kind of understand your situation a little better. So when you say that you're looking to change role, are you looking to change the industry and keep the same role, or are you looking to change the industry and role at the same time?
Um, I it'd be the role, change my role, right? From IT support to, SOC analyst or infrastructure, right? Changing into a cyber role.
Right. So what I would do is I would do a lot of research on the cross-transferable skills. So I would look at the job that you had and look at where those skill sets are similar and where there is cross, where they cross transfer. And then what I would do is I would then research the industry or the job that you're trying to go into and start thinking about what are those insights around how to do this. And then get involved in the community. That's the thing that I think a lot of people really struggle with. So I know a lot of job seekers spend a lot of their time behind the computer, like we are doing right now at this point. The more you can get out there and the more you can meet people and the more you can get involved in different projects where you can show your expertise, that is going to put you going in the right direction of getting that job, because people start seeing you as being a trusted, valuable member of the community, and they see that you're doing the work, and that's going to help you get that job.
Sounds like what we're talking about here is joining membership, volunteering at things. I'm volunteering at B-Side San Diego in March here. But sounds like joining your local chapter of whatever it is that you're trying to, whatever industry you're in. Sounds
Yeah, it's part of it. It's not all of it, but it's definitely a big piece of it. So join the associations. Not only join, but get involved in the associations. See if you can be an executive member. See if you can be a volunteer. See like who's in the group that could potentially hire you and build a relationship with that person. You know, get involved in open source projects, like any of those things where you can build that expertise up where people see you. Again, I want you to position yourself as still working, and now you're just looking for that job where you can apply those skills and get paid for it.
okay. All right. Well, we're coming up. I'm wrapping it up here. I don't know what if you have any other final thoughts. Where can they reach you at? How long is your program? Uh, extra additional information for us.
Yeah, great question. So my program is a 12-week program. It includes, curriculum and tools to help you with all the things that we do, but then we have coaching sessions that we have every week. And in those coaching sessions, I specifically do group cohort sessions because you get to meet other people that are in the same situation as you, and you're going to hear different perspectives. And the more you hear from other people and the more you participate in these groups, everybody learns from everybody in the group, and everybody is helping everyone towards that common cause of getting a job. And if you want to learn more about my program, there are two ways you can do it. One, if you want to reach out to me directly at Chris, CHRIS, at Ash Career, and Ash is ASHE career.com. I would love to have a 30-minute complimentary call with you, and talk about how your job search is going and what are some of the things that you can be doing to help with that. And then the other thing that we do is for job seekers that are thinking about like the next steps, or they're trying to get advice from other things, we have set up free job seeking communities. So we really we hone in on a couple of areas like ed tech, learning and development, higher ed. We do have one for cybersecurity. We do have one for software development. We have one called Over 45 Applying AI, which is really helping people who are Gen Z and up land their next job. And then we also have a free community around mental health, which is a part of the job search that very few people talk about. I don't coach mental health. I have advisors that can help with mental health. But yes, if anyone is interested, I would love to share my insights. I would love to connect with you directly, and you could reach me directly at my email address.
All right. Well, thank you, Chris. I hope to have you on further down the line, talk about something we didn't touch on today, and things that are expanding. Again, this is Sean with Sean's Tech Blog with Christopher Kelly from ashcareer.com. You can reach him at ashcareer.com, right? And then
ashcareer.com, or just my email, which is CHRIS. And remember, Ash is ASHE career.com. So Ash is named after our cat. So Ash is not ASH, it's ASHE.
Okay. And now, all right, let me stop the recording here. Let me thank you again.